So I just got off the phone with a client of mine who is super excited to get her house staged and get the photos taken and get it up on the market and get it sold. And she is ready to go right now. She, in fact, wanted to go and look at a property tomorrow, and she's not yet pre-approved. And there's just a whole lot of processes that have to take place when you're putting your house up on the market. And so I wanted to go ahead and make this video about tips and the strategies about staging your house when you're getting ready to put it up on the market, and just make sure that the expectations of you as a seller are met when this process is occurring. So let's get into the video right now. If we've never met before, my name is Anita Cordell, and I make videos about all things Kansas City, what it's like to live here, what it's like to work here, what it's like to play here, all things recreation, and of course I do cover the weather and those tornadoes. I'm also a licensed real estate agent and a team leader of the Yellow Brick Group, and we help people just like you buy, sell, relocate, and invest in our amazing city. Why? Because there's no place like home. I want to make a personal invitation to you before we go on. Be sure and write in the comments below any staging tips that you have that I might have missed. The reason why is it will help people who are watching this video. They will read your comments, and if you give something valuable, then they might learn something too. And it'll give me something to create as well in the future. So be sure and comment below. And also, if there's an area in Kansas City that you would like for me to cover in one of my next videos, be sure and give me that information as well. Now, in the description below is my contact information, and it includes a link right to my calendar. So you can click on that link and schedule an appointment, and we can talk about your real estate goals. Now, as we're getting into this video about staging, the first thing that I wanted to clarify is that there is a difference between decorating and staging. Decorating is when you are making your home personalized for you. You're picking out the colors of the walls that you like. You're picking out furniture that you like. You are putting together extra things in a room that you like. You're doing things to the property that you like. And it could be from multicolored curtains, which I've seen, to murals around the walls. I've seen a huge wall full of family photos. I've seen all kinds of things when it comes to personalizing your home. That is decorating. That is not staging. Staging is when you put your property in the best light possible to reach the masses when people come in and are looking at your house for a potential property that they want to purchase. Staging encompasses all kinds of things, not just putting a few fancy pieces of furniture in a room or a nice picture or some candles on a table. It encompasses a whole lot more, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I wanted to just clarify to make sure that you understand the difference between decorating your own home for your personal preference and staging for the purpose of selling your home. Now, one of the things that I do want to talk about when it comes to staging before we begin on the tips and stuff is that when you hire somebody to come in and stage your property, or have a real estate agent come in and help you with that, which is something I love doing, you definitely want to make sure that you are mentally and emotionally prepared for it, because some people might not like the choices that are needed to make in a certain room. And some people even complain that it feels naked to them, like an agent or a stager will come in and just remove most of the things in that room that you've poured your heart and your soul for the decorating purposes. So I wanted to just make sure that you understood that it doesn't have anything to do with your style or anything of that nature, but most of the time staging encompasses removing a whole lot of things from your property. Now, this is an example. Behind me, I have my bookshelf, and this is my office. And on my bookshelf, I have, books that I like to read, or just candles and decor and what have you. And part of me loves this decorating thing. And some of the books I might not ever read. I just like the way that they look on my bookshelf. I will be honest with you, if I were to put my house up on the market, I would remove probably half of the stuff that's on my bookshelf and redecorate and redesign it. I just want to explain that there is a difference, and I completely understand. In fact, I can take you into certain rooms in my home where there's probably too much furniture, or the furniture that's in there may not be conducive for somebody who is putting their house up on the market. I would probably change it. But yet right now, I love my yellow kitchen. I love my blue island. So those things are my personal choice and it makes me happy, but it will have to be changed when I put it up on the market. Also, when that happens and a lot of your things get removed from your property, it might feel like it's just uncomfortable and not really your home anymore. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. Now, I get a couple of questions from my sellers that are absolutely common. One of those questions is, when can I start? So when they ask me that question, it really means what can I do right now, or when can I start decluttering? The answer to that question really depends on you. Now, some people have lived in their property for 30 years and they've accumulated a lot of things. They've kept those memorabilia items from their children. They've raised their children up. They've even had grandchildren in the house. It's just been a lifelong home full of memories. However, there could be other people who live in a property for 5 years and now their family is growing and they need to upsize, buy a new home. There's other people who need to downsize for various reasons or move into a maintenance provided community because they might have retired. There's all different kinds of scenarios that cause a person to put their home on the market. And so when you ask that question, when can I start, or how long is it going to take, it's going to depend on you and how long you have been in the property. For instance, it could take a year. It could take a year of continually purging and donating things and selling things, or it could take just a few weeks. Another thing to note is if you've raised your kids and they're out of the home, but yet some of their things are still in storage in your home, like in your attic or whatever, they're gonna need to get their stuff out. So those things take time and take energy, and you'll want to definitely have a schedule. So that leads me to my very first tip, and that is that it's super important to have a staging schedule in place. So when I go to my listing appointments, I will take a calendar, a blank sheet of paper with 3 months on the calendar, and we will talk about important dates, we will talk about what all needs to be done, and we will talk about an estimated time frame of when those things will hopefully get accomplished. I recently helped a seller, and this time frame was something that we mapped out for about the 3-month time frame. Our goal was to get it up on the market in 3 months. However, it took way longer than the 3 months, and so we have to keep revisiting the timeline just so that there's still goals set in place, but this schedule is really important. So I wanted to go through what they accomplished in about a 4-month period. In their first month, they started going through all of their items, started making boxes of things they wanted to keep, they started making piles of things they wanted to donate, they started tagging things that they wanted to sell. They also had their adult children come from out of town and help pack their things, and they started taking things to the storage unit to store for the time being. All of that was occurring in the first month. It took a very long time to go through 30 years of things that they had in their property. This also included packing away some of their decor. The more that somebody can pack away, it will help with the staging process when I bring in my own things. Sometimes I can use a person's belongings, but oftentimes it's easier if we just start with a clean slate. Now, month 2 came along and they were still donating things and still packing up stuff, but in the midst of all of that, they were working on remodeling their bathroom. So remodeling their bathroom is one of the things that they wanted to do, and the contractor could not schedule it in that first month. So we had to move it to the second month. So during the midst of all of that, the contractors were working. They were also staining their deck and doing some small repairs that they needed to. So all of that occurred in the second month. So in the third month, all of their big items got removed or sold, and then they continued to purge their belongings as well. They also had a pre-listing inspection. I believe that a pre-listing inspection is very important to do when you have a home to sell. And the reason why is because you'll be able to understand what the health of the home is, and while all these repairs are being done and you're getting your house ready to sell, you can have your handyman come and do some of those repairs or find out what all he can or cannot do, and if there's any specialty contractors that need to come out, this is a perfect time to do that. Also in the third month, they worked on the curb appeal as well as painting the interior of their home, finishing up small repairs, and then I was able to get in there and finish all of the staging as well as do the professional photography. When the fourth month rolled around, everything was finished and we were able to start doing the pre-launch marketing as well as it went live in the fourth month. We were able to do all of that launch marketing as well as open houses, and it sold in that first weekend. Now, as you could tell, this took some time to do. It was not an easy, quick process. I also have another seller who was able to do it in 4 weeks versus 4 months. They were able to move out and move into their new property, fix the flooring in their old home. They were able to do some repairs, paint, and take professional photos after staging and all of that. And their property only took 4 weeks to do because they were further along in the process and they had already moved out. So it's really important to have those staging steps set in place and know a plan and have a plan with your real estate agent and know where you're going and what the goal is, including knowing who your target market is and who your target buyer is going to be when all of the marketing starts. Now, this leads to another tip. That is to detach yourself from the home emotionally. Now, this is also in conjunction with depersonalizing your home. When I go through the process of helping a seller prepare their home to get up on the market, this is one of the subjects that I talk about. Because people, especially who have lived in their home for a really long time, are attached to their property. So I ask them to, instead of looking at it as their home, to start looking at it as a house and detaching themselves from the house emotionally. That means depersonalizing as well. And yes, it means taking down most of your family photos and your dog photos and your cat photos and all of that. Now, there are some agents that want you to remove everything, like have nothing at all in your home that has anything to do with family or your pets or anything, no photos at all. I take the stance that I don't mind allowing for several photos. I mean, if you have a nice picture frame where you have, your wedding photo or something of that nature, or a baby photo, I don't have a problem with minimal photos in a home as long as it does not take away from the character of your home. If somebody gets overtly distracted by all of your photos, then we probably need to take them down, because what your goal is to sell your home, and we want the people who come into your home to love it enough to where they can visualize themselves in there, not have to worry about getting past all of your things. And that's what we mean by depersonalizing it. Some people can get offended when an agent comes in and asks them to remove some of those things, but it's not at all to be taken personal. It's because we see the goal in getting your home sold and to reaching the masses as effectively as possible. Now, I have a story to tell about depersonalization. I was taking a buyer into a property and it was a beautiful home, very, very well staged. It was a 2-story home, and when we made our way up to the second floor where all the bedrooms were, there was a door that was shut. And on that door, there was a note. And that note said, "Please do not enter. You may open up the door, but please do not enter. This is our prayer room." When we opened up the door, it was clearly a prayer room. There was a rug on the floor, and it was a religious book on a table, and there was some candles and what have you. And it was kind of offensive to my buyers. It might not necessarily be offensive to everyone, but my specific buyers were a little offended because they couldn't get into the room, and they felt like the house was not fully ready for buyers to come in. That's what I'm meaning by depersonalizing. I know that there is people who use rooms for prayer time or religious activities, and yet you want to make sure that your house does truly reach the masses. My buyers ended up not wanting to make an offer on that house just because they couldn't see everything, and they were kind of a little offended by not being able to when the house was ready and up on the market. So you just want to make sure that you appeal to the masses if you can. Now, my next tip on staging is decluttering, and that means just making sure that you have a lot of things removed removed from your property, it's really going to feel like your house is empty, especially if you have a lot of things in your home that you've accumulated. It will feel empty. Your bookshelves will feel empty. It's almost going to feel like you have things that are missing. However, this is going to make your rooms look bigger. It's going to broaden the space. It's going to photograph better. There's so many advantages to decluttering. This also is when you're talking about counters. Say for instance your kitchen has quite a number of things on the counter space. Take those off, put them in your cupboards. If you don't have space for them, put them out into your garage or get your storage unit. But I like to have about maybe 3 to 5 things at the most on your kitchen counter. Also, when we're talking about countertops, if you've watched any other staging channels or you've read about staging, you'll know that there is a rule of 3s. If you follow the rule of 3s, then you can't go wrong. And especially if you are staging with different levels of heights on things or different types of fabric, then you will make your room and your space be a little bit more interesting. Now this next tip is going to talk about the color that is used. I personally use 5 main colors when I am staging. I use whites, I use black, I use blues, I use grays, and I use browns. And those are my 5 main colors. What that means is I will accent with those colors, or I will try and make a room be that base. So like when I'm doing a bedroom, I have a gray bedroom. I might have a blue bedroom. I might have a white bedroom. There are some agents that really don't want any color at all. Basically, all they recommend is white towels, white linens, white decor, or neutral decor. Then there are some agents who love a pop of color, and that is me. I love a pop of color. Those are my basic 5 colors, but I will throw in other things, like I'll throw in, a red something here or there, or, a vase of flowers that's real colorful, or a yellow vase in my blue room, sort of thing. But I don't mind a pop of color. I think it's totally fine, but you don't want a whole lot of that. And the other thing is, if you're going to use towels and linens in a bathroom or a kitchen, just please make sure that they're all matching. Now another tip is to use throw pillows. You can get a lot of inexpensive throw pillows, even at stores such as Ross or Marshall's or Target or Walmart. I have even found throw pillows that are still in really nice condition at thrift stores. If you go in there with the mindset of just looking for specific colors or a look, you can stage your property really nice with those specific colors in mind, and just get a few throw pillows that accent your home and accent different rooms, and it will totally change the vibe of that room. Another thing too is I have read by staging experts that you can have up to 17 different textures in one room when it comes to material. And don't forget, you can always grab that basket, put some blankets in your room to make sure that it adds some volume and texture as well. Blankets are fantastic for doing that, and I recommend blankets in almost every room if you can do it. Another tip is to put greenery throughout your house. I know of agents that love putting a plant or some kind of greenery in every single room, and I am that agent. I love greenery. If you can put a live plant in a room, that's even better, because there's something about a live plant that just makes the room feel even more energized, I guess. But if you don't have a live plant, but you have that artificial greenery, that is perfect too. So just add some depth to it, but greenery is always a great option. And even in bathrooms, I love little pots that have kind of those fake succulents that are in the pots. I find those things a lot at thrift stores, in fact, and I put them on the bathroom counter, or just a little shelf next to the bed, or a little end table. Those little succulents are super cute, and you can put those in every room as well. Now I'm revisiting that tip that I mentioned earlier about the rule of 3s. A lot of agents use this. This is such a great piece of advice from professional stagers on, and I know that trends change, but I don't think that the rule of 3s will ever go away. But it is something to consider when you are staging. So what I mean by that is just go through your house, look at your fireplace mantle, for instance, and see if you can play with some of the things that are on the fireplace mantle and put just rule of three, maybe 3 things on one side and, you know, 3 things on the other, or just play around with it. On your coffee table, you can do the same thing. You can put a stack of books with a vase of flowers and a little candle. Bookshelves oftentimes have the rule of 3s. I know I have some on my bookshelf behind me. You can do that in your entryway. You can do the rule of 3s so many different ways. So just play around with it. You might be surprised at how it turns out. Now, the next tip that I want to talk about when it comes to staging is the size of your decor. So this is all about portraits and paintings and big vases. I would rather see one big piece of decor than a whole bunch of little trinkets or little things on a shelf. So if you're out shopping for that perfect picture for the wall or that perfect vase in the corner, just think big because you want to make a really vibrant statement. Trust me, all of these tips are going to help you in the long run when you're staging your property to sell. Now, another tip that I have about staging might surprise you because it deals with the exterior of your home. And yes, in my opinion, curb appeal also is part of staging. Now, if you want to know more about curb appeal, I've actually created a video about all kinds of ways that you can increase your curb appeal. The link is just right above here. But in that video, it includes tips about your front door, tips about windows, tips about cleaning, tips about power washing, all different kinds of things. So you'll definitely want to watch that video. Now, another tip I have is a book that I absolutely love. This book right here is called Secrets of Home Staging, and I'm going to have a link down below to where that you can just click on that link and buy it from Amazon. It's super, super fun and engaging. It's a lot of information about staging. So if you want to dive right in and get some examples of staging, this book is fantastic. But if you found this video to be helpful, be sure and give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my channel and then click the bell so that you can be notified of any other videos that I create. And as always, go out and live your best Kansas City life.